During our travels in Europe, my wife and I have noticed that many Europeans, particularly in Italy, use Fiamma 45S awnings on their RVs. The awning seems to be a very good one. We wondered if we could attach one to our Dutchmen 802 1994 tent trailer that has a bag awning. There's very little on the internet that talks about attaching such an awning to a tent trailer. It was very difficult to actually buy a Fiamma F45S awning and bring it to Canada. We ended up buying an awning that was bigger than what we wanted, and we had to purchase it through a local RV dealer who was required to import it from Fiamma USA. The installation kit that comes with the Fiamma 45S awning has brackets with bolts at the top. The brackets hang down from the bolts. This does not work well on a tent trailer, although it may work well on an RV or a truck camper. Fortunately, the Fiamma website lists a number of adapters that can be purchased in Europe. However, they can't be purchased in Canada, and so I had to purchase a kit caravan on eBay through England. The kit caravan adapter requires a straight awning rail, and my tent trailer awning rail is curved, and the position of the awning rail relative to the bolts is critical. In my particular case, because the tent fabric hangs fairly low in terms of where it is attached, it meant that although I could get the bolts on, the awning rail that I was using previously on my bag awning was not in the right location to be used with the kit caravan adapter. I'm installing the Fiamma kit caravan, and one of the challenges that I have is that the position of where I have to put the bolts has to be below the canopy and the metal part that the canopy is attached to on the inside of the top of the tent trailer. So I had to put it down low enough that I could get the Fiamma rectangular brackets in around these two bolts. So in order to do this, it meant that I had to drop the whole kit caravan bracket down below my awning track. The other problem that I've got is that I have a curved awning track on my tent trailer, and the Fiamma product, of course, is straight. So what I've done is I bought a couple of strips of aluminum awning rail, and I've attached one piece at the top of the kit caravan with 3 screws here, and another one partway down at the second part of the bracket. It's a little bit more difficult to see there. And I'm going to attach that in a few minutes with some screws. Of course, I have to put some putty tape in behind them and make sure I've got the right length of screw, but then I should have a firm attachment for the kit caravan to the side of my tent trailer, even though the regular awning track is in the wrong position, the old awning track from the bag awning. I experimented with drilling pilot holes and then real holes as close as I could to the supports for the tent in the inside of the tent trailer, with enough room to get the rectangular metal Fiamma bracket on the inside. I'm now attaching the front kit caravan kit bracket to the trailer. I'm leaving it a bit wobbly with just the bolts in loose so that I can make sure that it is level and I can double check. And I've got it butted up very, very close to the awning rail above and right to the edge of the trailer as close as I can possibly get it. And then I'm going to have to cut another piece of aluminum rail to put onto this lug and another piece of aluminum rail to put onto this lug. The aluminum awning rail on this part will go into the metal part of the frame, and this part will be attached. This aluminum awning rail will be attached and screwed into the body of the trailer with screws that don't go through and damage the fabric on the inside of the trailer. The bolts on the inside came through pretty much where I want them to be. I'm just going to have to be careful that the metal Fiamma plate will go on. And that there's enough room that the bolts aren't going to interfere with the fabric or with the closing of the mechanism. The Fiamma plate seems to fit on nicely. It's a little bit higher than I had originally anticipated, but I think it's okay, and I think I'm going to be able to get the plastic casing on over top of the bolts. I might have to shorten the bolts, but I'm not sure of that. I won't cut them or buy new ones until it's absolutely necessary. I'm going to cut the awning rail in another 6-inch strip to put on the front portion of the trailer, and I'm just using a hacksaw with this material. You have to be very gentle and hold it tightly. Unfortunately, I had to buy 12-foot strips of this material, and it's quite expensive, but also hard to find. I ended up finding it at a company in Toronto in North Etobicoke called Extruda Trim. It was necessary to trim the outside edge of the aluminum rail so that it matched the contour of the trailer. Got another piece of awning rail to slide into the upper track. Right in here, and I've added a piece of awning track here, which I've temporarily screwed in. I yet have to put the putty tape on. And another piece of awning track here, which I'm just going to file down a little bit to make it a little bit smoother, but it's going to sit right on this edge here, so I'm attached on top, in the middle, and with the big bolts below. And I'm going to have to make sure that I get the whole thing level. The holes are all drilled for the front bracket, and now it's time to take everything off, put putty tape on it, and make sure everything is level, both on the front and on the back corner. Now I'm going to apply some putty tape to the back of each of the metal brackets and just roll it along the inside. The material now is a lot thinner than it used to be all those years ago when I used to do this as a student. Anyway, I think it will still work, and it's a whole lot more expensive than it used to be. I bought this at Rona. It was necessary to cut about 3/8 off each of the bolts so that I could ultimately put the plastic cap over top of the inside. It was a challenge to find the correct position for the center bracket. Ultimately, I had to move it just to the left of the door, even though that didn't fit the support position on the Fiamma box. I'm installing the center bracket just with a piece of awning rail, awning track, below the old awning track, and then with the main bolts going through the side of the trailer. And I've had to move it not where Fiamma recommends the middle one, according to the support indication, but I've had to move it to the side of the door so that it will clear the door when the door comes down. Otherwise, I will have a problem on the inside. And I'm hoping that I'm going to have enough room for everything. I've used a piece of awning rail just to make sure that all of my 3 brackets line up with each other in terms of the same height. And I think that I'm safe. The center one is right down in the slot. And so I think I'm safe to tighten up my screws. And the 3 brackets are now on, and I have been able to close the tent trailer, which is the big test. Now I just have to check and make sure that the door will work with the center support being there. With the help of 2 other people, we've now lifted the Fiamma main assembly and put it onto the brackets. And the word support is covered up by the front bracket. Just a little bit of it is showing. And the main frame seems to be sitting pretty nicely and seems to be evenly attached right across, including on the center bracket. It seems to be on properly and seems to be sitting evenly at the back end. And on the back end, the word support is covered up against the bracket, and it seems to be sitting flush. So it's sitting flush on the back bracket, and I'm just going to look under the center bracket, and it seems to be sitting flush under the center bracket and flush under the front bracket. So now I think I have to follow the instructions and open up the package. I'll take the plastic off. I think it's safe to do that now, and open it up and then figure out where to drive the screws. But I think the position is good. In this particular case, the awning is much too big for the tent trailer, but it was the smallest awning Fiamma F45S that we could buy. It was a challenge to buy it because being in Canada, the only way we could buy it was through Fiamma USA and have it shipped to an RV dealer in Canada. And the smallest we could get was 260 centimeter, which is too big for our trailer. So it seems to barely fit, but I'm hoping that it will work properly. Both the instructions that came with the Fiamma awning and the instructions that came with the kit caravan don't seem to be too specific with respect to how to open up the awning once it's in place and you've removed the plastic in order to install that screw. And the only instruction that I can really find that applies is this one here that appears to indicate that when you, after you've opened up the awning, that you drive a screw through, one screw through into each of the 3 metal brackets. In this picture, the screw goes up from the bottom with respect to the kit that comes with the Fiamma awning, but it appears that when you use the kit caravan that you take each of these 3 screws and put them through the metal bracket. So that's what I'm going to try to do next after I open up the awning. Something fell out from the left-hand side of the awning. I have no idea what it is, whether it's part of packaging or whether it's a part of the awning, but I will put it aside until later to try and figure out what on earth it is. I've now pulled the awning out this far, and I can't really see a place where I can put a screw in there. There's room to put a screw in some of the other spots further down, so I think I can drive screws safely there, but I can't figure out where I'm going to put a screw in close to this main bracket. I have the awning open. It seems to me that it would make sense, this is the front support, it would make sense to shift the whole thing about 1/2 inch towards the back of the trailer. That way the support is more on the bracket, and as well then I've got some room to put a screw through here, because right now I don't have enough room to be able to see a place to put that screw through. Lots of room to put a screw on the back, to put a screw here, but I think if I slide the whole thing 1/2 inch back, then I'm going to have some more room at the front, and I can still have enough room to drive a screw about here. on the inside. Off turned out to be the tightening screw on the leg closest to the rear of the trailer. So I've just put it back in. Closed, I've been moving it back and forth a couple of times, but now I think I've got enough room on the front to drive a screw through here. The center is not problematic at all. I can drive a screw there. And on the back end, I've got enough room to drive a screw right about there. But each time I shifted the unit, I did it with the whole unit closed. Using my own number 10 by 3/4 screws and used Robertson screws because it's very, very difficult driving the screws into the big aluminum bracket in behind. Quick vacuuming of the aluminum shavings. The job is done. And it looks pretty good.